I've always loved choose your own adventure books. As a child, I spent entire evenings with my friends, flicking through their pages, discovering new outcomes for our actions, following different paths, and reaching different endings. So, when Telltale released The Walking Dead Season 1 back in 2012, I decided to give it a try and enjoyed it for what it was: a narrative game in which you can tailor certain elements of the story and your relationships with the cast, while the overall plot remained relatively unchanged. It was like surfing a wave. You can dance on top of it, but you can't choose where or when the wave will break. After finishing Lee's and Clementine's stories, I gave The Wolf Among Us a chance. I was fascinated by its setting, its dark and brooding atmosphere, and its brilliantly written characters. Still, your choices mostly added flavor to a story that ultimately had a fixed ending. Later on, Telltale became more daring, introducing more serious consequences and meaningful branching paths in games like Game of Thrones or Batman: The Enemy Within, which was a refreshing evolution. All that leads us to Dispatch, a game created by Ad Hoc Studios and developed by veteran designers from Telltale Games, Ubisoft, and Night School Studio. Given that most Telltale games focus on narrative experiences that let you shape the story within certain constraints, the question is whether Dispatch follows the same trend. And the answer is yes. But Dispatch is also more than that. If The Walking Dead is a survival narrative game, and The Wolf Among Us is a detective narrative game, then Dispatch is a team building narrative game where the dispatching gameplay is just as important as the story. In Dispatch, you play as Robert, also known as Mecha Man, who ends up working as a dispatcher for SDN after his suit is destroyed. In the game, you are in charge of a group of heroes, or more accurately, villains attempting to reform themselves, enrolled in a rehabilitation program with SDN, an agency whose job is to dispatch superheroes and reform villains to handle emergencies around the city. This is where Robert and the player step in. As Robert, you must manage a team of C-list villains desperate to turn their lives around, some of whom risk being sent back to prison if they fail the program. Your C team and SDN colleagues include a set of eclectic characters starring Super Fiona, Tsundere Girlfriend, Long Hair YouTuber, Short Hair YouTuber, Sad Ron Swanson, Karlach, Fast Einstein, Mustache Tom Holland, Edgy Zendaya, Flammable Dan Hibiki, Cardi C, and Groot. The whole cast is both memorable and lovable. Many characters begin as familiar stereotypes, but the more time you spend with them, the more human and genuine they feel. At times, the game almost resembles a live-action superhero workplace comedy, and that's no coincidence. It was originally conceived as one before being adapted into a narrative Telltale style experience. Unlike earlier Telltale titles, you don't directly control Robert to walk around, examine objects, or click on characters to talk to them. Instead, Ad Hoc focuses on delivering narrative-driven scenes where you choose what Robert says, how he says it, and what decisions he makes, trading traditional movement and exploration for the dispatch gameplay mechanics. The narrative sections focus on your interactions with the team and the company, while the dispatching segments require you to manage, level up, and train your heroes by sending them to various emergency calls across the city. Each call demands a specific combination of skills: combat, vigor, mobility, charisma, or intelligence, and the challenge lies in matching the right people to the right situations. Early on this seems simple, but call descriptions can be cryptic, and you receive several calls at once most of the time, and your heroes may be busy, resting, returning to HQ, or having their missions disrupted. On top of that, you must plan how to build each hero as they gain XP, unlock unique abilities, and determine who works best together, as synergies between characters matter. Failing missions reduces stats, and multiple failures will get your heroes downed and out of the roster for the day. Some missions can be resolved through hacking, Robert's expertise, and certain heroes have personal connections to NPCs or entities that unlock special solutions. These layers of complexity keep you thinking constantly about who to send where. Sometimes, sending the wrong hero or too many at once means other calls go unanswered simply because no one is available. The casual banter during dispatch sequences isn't just flavor, it often contains hints that help you pick the right people for the job. Leveling your characters is also incredibly important. In my first playthrough, I assumed dispatching was just a minigame to fill the space between narrative sections, and that only your dialogue choices affected your relationships with the cast. After finishing the game a few more times, I realized that neglecting to level certain characters can lock you out of specific endings, no matter how inspirational your dialogue choices were. Some missions also gate narrative outcomes behind success or failure, and the game never tells you this outright. You have to discover that dispatching is not a side activity, but an integral part of the experience, deeply intertwined with the story. I was relatively careless regarding leveling up heroes in my first run, and as the difficulty ramped up, with tougher missions and scripted challenges, the final sections became genuinely challenging. Some narrative choices I didn't think would influence much, and how I built my team surprisingly mattered a lot in the end. The good news is that you can fail forward certain important missions, though not without consequences. While a few decisions feel clear-cut, the majority are far more nuanced than they appear. Mentoring a team of heroes who can turn invisible or have super hearing means that what you say matters, even when you think no one is listening. I particularly appreciated how the game avoids spoon-feeding you which choices influence which outcomes. Instead, it quietly tracks a huge number of decisions, both large and small, culminating in a finale that can vary dramatically for several members of your team. Visually, the game is a marvel, using a cartoonish style reminiscent of arcane League of Legends, with impeccable art direction that makes the entire cast memorable. The attention to detail is remarkable, characters' cheeks turning red after becoming visible because they can only stay invisible by holding their breath. Alien characters awkwardly unsure of human social cues, or heroes teasing you if you take too long to answer. These touches make the world feel alive and organic, and it's impossible not to grow attached to this eclectic group. The game can get a bit spicy and violent at times though, so it is recommended for adults only. The voice acting is outstanding, featuring Aaron Paul of Breaking Bad fame, Laura Bailey, Erin Yvette, and Matthew Mercer, among other veteran actors and well-known YouTube personalities. The script is hilarious at times, and the cast makes sure the jokes land with a perfect delivery.
I abstained from voting as I am neither human nor reformed villain, nor particularly interested in this conversation. I only came in as I thought we were playing Magic the Gathering tonight. I am hoping we still may.
The only voice that pulled me out of the experience was Charlie's portrayal of Sonar.
Oh, I'm sure you know why you're here.
Nah, not at all, man. No clue. What's up? What's going on, Robbie?
While the character is amusing, Charlie's voice is so peculiar and delivered with the same cadence and tone he uses online that it felt less like Sonar had his own voice and more like Charlie wearing a bad head. In contrast, Waterboy, voiced by Joel Haver, feels completely distinct, and I only realized it was voiced by Haver after looking it up. The music is dreamy and catchy, and the different themes perfectly fit the scenes they were designed for. Songs like Radio are absolute bangers that set the exact tone the game needs in that moment. In terms of length, a playthrough can easily take around 10 hours, and I strongly recommend at least 2. You'll want to explore different romance paths, decide who stays on your team, experiment with new recruits, and see all the unique narrative scenes and dispatch interactions. Thanks to this variety, Dispatch joins the ranks of classics that reward multiple playthroughs, titles like The Witcher 2 and 3, Fallout New Vegas, and Baldur's Gate 3. Dispatch is one of the few games I've finished and immediately restarted so I could explore other paths. And unlike some games where certain branches feel weaker, Dispatch makes each path satisfying. As a minor nitpick, I must mention the inability to remap keys, a problem Telltale has long been guilty of, and which unfortunately carries over to Ad Hoc. While many players use the WASD convention, I've always been more of an ESDF person myself, and I feel less comfortable otherwise. Lacking key remapping in this day and age feels like an unnecessary oversight in an otherwise brilliantly designed game that offers many accessibility options. During dispatching, sometimes the ball bouncing out and making you fail a mission feels a bit unfair, to the point that it feels the game cheats you out of your successful missions sometimes, but I guess a touch of randomness is part of the excitement. Lastly, while most episodes strike a solid balance between narrative sections and dispatch gameplay, a few tend to drag during their dispatch segments, mainly because of some forced hacking calls. These sequences can become tiresome after a while, and the novelty of hacking wears off quickly. Even though Ad Hoc clearly tried to introduce new twists and surprises in each episode, some installments simply rely too heavily on hacking missions. In conclusion, Dispatch might just be the most polished Telltale-like experience to date. The story is gripping, full of heart, and hooks you from the very first minute. The ensemble cast is incredibly charming, and you genuinely grow attached to them. Your choices, big and small, carry real weight, and the Dispatch gameplay remains consistently engaging and fun. The narrative sections are beautifully directed and acted, and the QuickTime events are some of the most elegant and well-designed QuickTime events the genre has seen. Visually, it's a standout achievement in art direction, and for under $30, it's an absolute must-buy that all kinds of players can enjoy. With any luck, its success will bring us a new season soon. For all these reasons, Dispatch fully earns 9 Nitpickers points out of 10. Thanks for watching, Nitpickers. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more, and tell me in the comments who was your favorite character in Dispatch or in any narrative game.